Scaled figures level 1 and 2. So I'm going to give you two examples from level 1 and two from example 2. So here's level 1. Write down the scale factor equation. That's this one here. Pre-image multiplied by scale factor is equal to image. Solve for the given variable. In this case, it's always going to be the scale factor. Do not skip steps. Box final answer. So just to introduce a bit of vocab, it says the figure on the right is a scaled copy of the figure on the left, which means if the right is a copy, that means the one on the left came first. So the figure on the left, we are always going to call this one our pre-image. And then remember the prefix, that's this word right here. Pre means before. And then this one over here, the figure on the left, this is called my image. This is coming second. That's why we call this one a copy. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and find the length of a side from the pre-image, and we need to compare that to the side of a corresponding side length. Now, I'll be honest with you, I would ignore these ones right here because those are diagonals, and finding the length of a diagonal, you have to use the Pythagorean theorems, and that's a lot of work. So if it was me, I would go ahead and use side BC and MJ, or AC and LJ. Personally, I would probably go ahead and use the two shortest sides. So I'm going to focus on A to C, from A to C, and then I'll focus on L to J. That's not what they're asking here for this first thing, but I'm just going to use those sides because it's easy to count the length. So going from A to C, I would go down 1, 2, 3 units. So that side is 3. To go from L to J, that's 1 unit. And now we'll plug these numbers in top. So the pre-image, that's the figure on the left, that's 3, multiplied by, in math they use the variable k to represent scale factor. So I have 3 multiplied by k should be equal to 1. Again, notice the length of this side is 1. The equation can simplify to a one-step equation as 3k equals 1. And then I'll divide by 3 on each side because I need to isolate k. That's my given variable. So k, that's my scale factor, is going to be 1/3. And any time that you have a k value that's less than the number 1, notice 1/3 is definitely less than 1, that's going to be called a reduction. In other words, a figure will always be reduced. So the figure on the left, the pre-image, was reduced to the image on the right. All right, let's go back to Delta Math. Now we've got all our calculations and all our work. Actually, we should probably box our final answer. So there we go. Which side of the figure corresponds? Now just the vocab correspond means same relative position. So we want something that corresponds to CA, and that's actually the one we found. That's this segment here on the right, which means that it's going to be LJ or JL. So there's JL, and we said the scale factor, we calculated it to be 1/3. We're good to go. Let's find, let's see, we did a reduction. Let's find an enlargement. All right, let's start with our scale factor equation. Pre-image times the scale factor is equal to image. Notice that my pre-image is on the left, and again, remember, pre means before. That implies that's going to come first. And then the copy, or the image, is on the right. Now, we'll get to answering these questions over here, but let's go ahead and deal with numbers. Again, just like we did in our first example, we want to use a horizontal and vertical side to find the length just because it's easy. We are ignoring the diagonals. Do not search for the length of diagonals. It's too much work. So over here, I would probably use the length of, here, let me switch over to my line feature. I would find the length of DH and then QP, regardless of this is what they're asking for, just because those are two short sides, and then you don't have to worry reducing. So to go from D to H, I would go down 1, 2, so there's a length of 2, and over here I would go down 1, 2, and then 3. So we'll plug in 2 for the pre-image. We'll multiply that by the scale factor, which is the given variable k, and it should give us a 3. So that equation would simplify to 2k is equal to 3. And then we would divide by 2 on each side, and we would find out that our k, or scale factor, is 3/2. Now remember in the last one we had a k value that was less than 1. If you have a k value that's less than 1, it's going to be a reduction. So in this case, if I have a k value that is greater than 1, we're going to go ahead and say that it's an enlargement. And again, it's pretty safe to say that the figure on the left is smaller than the figure on the right. So let's go ahead and box our scale factor, and then let's answer the question. Which side on the figure right corresponds to HG? So HG, let's see, HG is this diagonal right here. So this is HG. So that would correspond to P to O. So let's find P to O. And then the scale factor we calculated as being a 3/2. There you go. And that's pretty much it. Now for level 2, the only difference is they rotate the figure. But if you look at the application when it moves, it's going to show you what's the same. So again, what we want to do is we want to find a length on the preimage that's a horizontal and vertical. And really the only side that's horizontal is SR, and that's 1. And that would correspond to CG or GC. And again, follow this. Notice that it ends up showing where it lines up. So if this is 1, this is 2, we'll just plug it in. I'm going to go 1 multiplied by k should be equal to 2, which would simplify to 1k is equal to 2. And then I'll divide by 1 on each side, and I find out that k is equal to 2. So at this point, you can definitely see that since my k value is greater than 1, this is an enlargement. Which clearly is, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Obviously, it's getting bigger. Now we just have to go ahead and answer the question in Delta Math. So which side in the figure corresponds to SR? So SR corresponds with CG or GC. CG, and the scale factor we calculated by solving the equation is equal to 2. There we go. Let's try one more. Okay, second example. So obviously, I think I forgot to mark this in the last one. I'm sorry. Please notice that my preimage on the left and my image is on the right. Obviously, without thinking about it, the figure on the left is getting smaller. So we could come over here, if you wanted to, and say that k is going to be less than 1, which means that this proves that it should be a reduction. Again, we want to use horizontal and vertical. I'm going to use the length of this side OL right here. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then that corresponds to, let's see, that's going to be this one right here. But if you're not sure, just watch it. It moves and then rotates. That's going to be VU or UL. So this one right here. So notice that's 3, and then this is 1. So the preimage is 3. We can multiply that by a k value, which is our scale factor, and it's equal to 1. So the equation would simplify to 3k is equal to 1. Then we'll divide by 3 on each side, and we find out that k is equal to 1/3. Okay, so let's box that, and let's go back to Delta Math, and let's fill it out. Which side in the figure on the right corresponds to LO? So that's LO, and that's going to correspond to VU or UV. VU, and the scale factor we said was 1/3, which is a reduction. And there you have it. Let me know if you need any help.